When a lone human survivor named Rian is rescued from a wreck drifting through deep space, no one expects his presence to change the fate of an entire alien species. Assigned to guard him, the towering giantess warrior Kaara treats him like a fragile creature, until a single night trapped together in freezing conditions awakens something inside her that she cannot explain. Her body trembles, her strength falters, and a strange warmth begins linking her instincts to the human she barely knows. For a warrior raised to hide weakness at all costs, this new vulnerability is more terrifying than any enemy. But Kaara's reaction is not an accident. Ancient whispers, forgotten laws, and long-buried truths start rising to the surface as the ship moves toward hostile territory. Enemies want the human. Her commanders fear him. And Kaara finds herself caught between her people's expectations and the pull of a bond she never believed was real. With danger closing in from all sides, both she and Rian must uncover why a single night changed her destiny, and why the galaxy suddenly wants him at any cost. The rescue lights flickered like dying stars as the alien battleship drifted toward the shattered pod. The crew moved with practiced precision, but Kaara stood at the edge of the docking bay with a stiffness that betrayed her irritation. She had fought through meteor storms, faced armored beasts twice her size, and walked unarmored across burning sands. Yet here she was, waiting for a creature rumored to be one of the most fragile beings in the galaxy. A human. If the old stories were true, they were soft-boned, short-lived, and always on the brink of breaking. Hardly worth the effort of a rescue mission. The pod doors hissed open with a metallic sigh. Two medics stepped forward and pulled out the barely conscious survivor. Kaara expected a strange, alien-looking figure, but the man they brought out looked almost disappointingly simple: dark hair, pale skin, and a body that seemed too light to even register in her enhanced senses. His eyes fluttered open for only a second, and in that brief moment, Kaara felt something she had not felt in years: curiosity. He looked up at her towering frame with a dazed, fragile sort of wonder, as if seeing her was the last gift life decided to give him. She quickly turned away before the feeling could grow. "Kaara," her commander barked from behind, "you'll guard him until we determine his value." "My value?" the human murmured, voice cracking. "I didn't know I had any left." Kaara ignored the softness in his tone. Fragile species always talked like that. Quiet, unsure, scared of breaking. She motioned for the medics to follow her and led them through the humming corridors to the quarantine chamber. The ship vibrated beneath her feet like some restless beast, engines struggling against a thick cloud of cosmic dust. They were far from safe territory, and the tension curled through the air like invisible smoke. Inside the chamber, Kaara watched the medics finish their scans. The human would live, though his body temperature had dropped dangerously low. "He needs sustained warmth," one medic said. "No artificial heater matches his biological requirements." Kaara muttered. "Then he's lucky to still be alive." She crossed her arms and stared down at the human. "What is your name?" "Rian," he whispered. "Just Rian." He tried to sit up and nearly fell sideways, legs trembling like they weren't sure they remembered how to stand. Kaara steadied him instinctively, her massive hand easily spanning half his back. She expected his body to flinch, to collapse under the pressure, but instead his warmth seeped into her skin in a way that made her jaw tighten. Human heat felt strangely alive, different from her own kind, different from any species she had ever touched. The medic cleared his throat. "He cannot regulate his body temperature yet. If the chamber loses heat overnight, he could die." Kaara looked at Rian again. His breath trembled, his eyelids fluttered, and despite everything she believed about humans being weak and unremarkable, something in her wanted to keep him alive. Against her better judgment, she said, "I'll stay with him." The medics exchanged uncertain glances but nodded. Once they left, the chamber felt too quiet, too intimate. Kaara sat beside the narrow bed, watching as Rian tried to rest. Hours passed. The ship entered a colder region of space, and the temperature in the chamber began to drop despite the heaters working at full power. Rian's breathing grew shallow, his lips paling. He pulled the thin blanket tighter around himself, but it wasn't enough. Kaara cursed under her breath. Your species is inconvenient, she muttered, standing. She removed her armored coat, its thick layers more than enough to cover 3 humans, and draped it over him. Still not enough. His shivering worsened. Her instincts buzzed. A primal, ancient instinct she hadn't felt since she was a child on her home world, trained to protect the weaker members of her tribe. She hated that it stirred now for him. He whispered hoarsely, "Cold." Kaara hesitated. Then, with a frustrated sigh, she lay down on the bed beside him. The bed groaned under her weight, the frame barely holding. She pulled him close with one arm, sharing the immense heat her species naturally carried. Rian inhaled sharply as warmth wrapped around him, and slowly, his trembling faded. Minutes turned into hours as the chamber lights dimmed into night mode. Kaara stayed awake, watching the gentle rising and falling of his chest, strangely aware of every breath he took. His head rested against her shoulder, and for the first time since she joined the warrior ranks, she felt a quiet she didn't know she had been craving. He stirred once, whispering in half-sleep, "Thank you. Don't leave." She didn't answer, but she didn't move away either. When dawn cycle lights flickered back on, Kaara shifted to sit up, and froze. Her muscles trembled. Her vision pulsed. Her legs felt heavy, almost numb. She tried to stand but stumbled, grabbing the wall for support. What was this? She, a warrior born from a race bred for battle, suddenly couldn't rise to her full height. Her heartbeat raced with irritation and something close to fear. Rian sat up weakly. "Are you okay?" Kaara glared at him, though the expression lacked its usual strength. "I am fine." But she wasn't. Her body felt different, unbalanced, almost as if something inside her had changed overnight. She steadied herself again, breath shaky. The absurd thought crossed her mind that sharing a bed with a human, this fragile, soft creature, had somehow done this to her. Impossible. Ridiculous. And yet, her legs still trembled. Rian watched her with concern, unaware that his presence alone had just created the first crack in the armor of a giantess who never bowed to anyone. And this was only the beginning. Kaara kept her back straight as she walked through the metallic corridor. Every step a battle she refused to show. Her legs still trembled from the moment she'd risen that morning, a faint vibration running through her muscles like a warning she didn't understand. She forced her gait to remain steady, but her body betrayed her in small ways. A slight sway, a subtle drag of her heel, a stiffness that didn't belong on a warrior of her stature. She hoped no one noticed. Warriors did not show weakness. Not in public. Not anywhere. Rian walked a few steps behind her, still recovering from the cold night, but alert enough to sense something was off. "You're moving differently," he said softly. She didn't look back. Humans observe too much. Only when the person in front of them looks like they're about to fall over. Her jaw tightened. She stopped, turning just enough to glare at him. He didn't flinch, though he should have, standing inches from someone whose shadow alone could swallow him. His steady gaze flicked down to her hands. She realized her fingers were trembling. Kaara forced her fist closed and marched on, refusing to dignify his observation with a response. When they reached the command deck, her commander, Vorkin, stood by the hollow display, his expression hard as stone. "Warrior Kaara," he said. "You're late." Her pulse kicked in her throat. "My apologies, Commander." Rian stepped forward to speak, but Kaara swiftly blocked him with her arm. The last thing she needed was a human protecting her. Vorkin's gaze narrowed. "Is the human attempting to shield you?" Kaara dropped her arm. "He is confused. I'll see to his behavior." Rian opened his mouth, but she shot him a warning glance, and he fell silent. Vorkin circled her, analyzing her stance, posture, breath, the way commanders had studied warriors since the first era of their species. Kaara stood tall, refusing to move even when her knees wobbled beneath her armor. "Your pulse is elevated," Vorkin murmured. "I trained this morning," she lied. He stopped behind her. "You haven't missed a morning's training in 8 years. Today you did." The words hit harder than a strike. Rian looked at her, worry darkening his features, but Kaara kept her expression steady. Vorkin's voice dropped lower, almost sharp enough to cut. Weakness is unacceptable, Kaara. Fix it. I will, she said, though her body felt like it might crumble. When they were dismissed, Kaara left quickly, refusing to let anyone else see her falter. Rian followed in silence. When they reached the quieter training halls, Kaara finally braced a hand against the wall, breath shuddering. You should tell someone, Rian said gently. No, she snapped. They would strip me of rank. They would send me home. She lowered her voice, bitterness thickening her tone. And home is worse than death. Rian stepped closer. Why? What happened there? Kaara closed her eyes as a memory pulled her backward. Dusty training fields beneath a burning sky, the cries of young warriors being pushed beyond their limits, and her own mother standing tall and distant, her expectations sharper than any blade. On her home planet, children were hardened early. Weakness was corrected with punishment. Too much weakness was erased entirely. She remembered being 6 cycles old, stumbling during combat drills. Her mother's voice echoed across the field. Stand, or you will not survive. And she had stood, bloody, shaking, terrified, because the alternative was exile into the wilderness. Kaara opened her eyes. Weakness meant you didn't deserve to remain among the tribe. If I am labeled weak now, I will be sent back. And I will not survive that place again. Rian swallowed hard. Then, I'll help you hide it. She stared at him, startled by the sincerity in his voice. No one offered help freely in her world. For a moment, she couldn't find her words. Before she could respond, an old figure stepped into the hallway. Elder Nira, one of the ship's oldest advisors, moved with slow, deliberate steps. Her white gold eyes locked onto Kaara with unsettling clarity. I've been watching you, the elder said. Kaara stiffened. Elder Nira, with respect. Your aura trembles, Nira interrupted. Something has changed inside you. Rian shifted uncomfortably. Kaara's pulse hammered. This weakness you feel, Nira continued, is not sickness. It is awakening. Kaara froze. What do you mean? The elder's gaze flicked toward Rian, studying him as if he were a relic pulled from a forgotten temple. Only one species in the galaxy can trigger such a reaction in a giantess. Only one can alter your pulse, your strength, your instincts. Rian blinked. What species? Nira stepped closer, lowering her voice as if speaking a sacred truth. Humans. Silence fell like gravity pulling them all down. Rian frowned. But humans exist. I'm standing right here. Nira shook her head slowly. No. Humans went extinct 2 centuries ago. Their worlds were burned. Their colonies lost. Every record confirms their annihilation. Kaara's breath faltered. But he is an impossibility, Nira whispered. Rian felt the air tighten around him. Then what am I? The elder inhaled deeply, a shiver of fear slipping into her usually calm expression. That, she said, is the question everyone will want answered. Kaara's legs trembled again, stronger than before. Not from weakness, from fear of what this truth would cost both of them. Kaara didn't sleep that night. She sat beside Rian's bed, arms folded, eyes tracking every breath he took as the ship hummed restlessly around them. He drifted easily into sleep, body wrapped in the warmth she'd layered around him. But the moment he slipped into deep rest, the voices returned, soft at first, then sharp as bone. Kaara of the 3rd lineage, why do you hold the human close? The whispers were not spoken aloud. They thrummed inside her ribs, vibrating through marrow and memory. She grit her teeth, gripping the metal bed frame hard enough to leave dents. You are a warrior. Your destiny is forged in discipline. Do not bend for a fragile creature. Another voice, older, rougher, rose from somewhere behind her consciousness. Break the bond before it binds you. Kaara dragged in a breath and pressed a hand to her chest as if she could crush the voices back into silence. Across the bed, Rian slept peacefully, unaware that her ancestors, the ancient spirits woven into every giantess's lineage, were clawing at her soul. Kaara, Rian murmured faintly in his sleep. She froze, the whispers snapping away as if drowned under rushing water. His voice carried warmth that sank under her skin. When he drifted back into deeper rest, the whispers returned, harsher now. He is rewriting you. She stood abruptly, the motion jarring enough to shake the old bones of the ship. She couldn't stay here, not with the voices growing louder. She slipped out into the corridor, her footsteps echoing through the dim, flickering lights of night cycle. The deeper she walked into the ship's half-lit halls, the quieter her mind became. The whispers faded, but they left behind a residue, an unease crawling along her spine. 12 hours. That was all they had before reaching the checkpoint, where enemy scanners would comb through every genetic signature on board. If Rian was impossible, if humans were extinct, then whatever he was, the enemy would want him, and they would kill anyone who tried to hide him. Kaara reached the maintenance decks, silent, cold, lined with rows of dormant machinery. She leaned against the railing overlooking the engine core, letting out a breath she didn't realize she held. She wasn't alone. A figure moved in the shadows below, a slender alien with mottled skin and long, jointed limbs. He stepped into the dim blue glow of the engine lights, his eyes reflecting like mirrored glass. "You hear them," he said, voice rasping like metal dragged over stone. Kaara tensed. "Identify yourself. I should ask the same." He tilted his head, studying her with unsettling calm. "You carry the tremor of awakening." She took a step back. "Speak plainly." He climbed the metal stairs with slow, deliberate movements, never breaking eye contact. "The human's touch is rewriting your destiny." Kaara's heart hammered. "How would you know anything about him?" "Because I once guarded one of your kind during an awakening." His voice dropped lower. "She did not survive it." A cold ache pierced Kaara's chest. What happened to her? She chose loyalty to the wrong side. Kaara's fists tightened. "What do you want from me?" "To warn you." He came close enough that she could see the scars beneath his scales. "Your people will not allow this bond to grow. The enemy will kill to own it, and the human will die if either side takes him." A sharp alarm blared through the deck, lights flickering red for an instant. Kaara spun toward the sound. "Maintenance blackout in progress," the ship's AI announced. The entire deck plunged into total darkness. Kaara's instincts roared to life. She turned back toward the alien, but he had vanished. No footsteps, no scent, nothing but a whisper lingering in the dark. "Choose wisely, Giantess." His voice echoed faintly. 12 hours left. When the scanners sweep you both, everything ends. The lights snapped back on. Kaara was completely alone. Her breath came fast, panic tightening around her lungs. She stormed back toward the quarantine chamber, every step filled with rising urgency. The ship's countdown displayed across the corridor screens. 11 hours 43 minutes until checkpoint scan. Her pulse quickened. Inside the chamber, Rian sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Kaara? You look like you fought a storm." She stalked toward him, lowering her voice. "Listen to me. When we reach the checkpoint, they will scan everyone. If they discover you're human, or whatever you are, they'll take you." Rian's face paled. "Take me where?" "Somewhere worse than death." The fear in his eyes was real, but so was the resolve. "Then we run. Or hide. Or something. I'm not letting them hurt you either." She stared at him, the words echoing strangely in her mind. "He wants to protect me?" No one protected warriors. Ever. But the voices didn't return this time. Only a powerful, steady thrum in her chest. One she didn't recognize. 12 hours, she said softly. "That's all we have." Rian swallowed hard. "Then we figure this out together." She exhaled shakily, realizing something terrifying. Her ancestors' whispers weren't warning her to stay away. They were warning her what she would become if she didn't. And the countdown kept ticking. The ship's medical chamber trembled under the distant rumble of approaching engines, but Kaara barely heard it. Her focus was locked on the glowing scan unfolding in front of her. Rian stood beside her, shirt lifted as the machinery traced shimmering lines of light over his skin. The medtech's face had gone pale, almost chalk-white. "This can't be right," he whispered, adjusting the settings again. "His DNA. This pattern shouldn't exist anymore." Kaara stepped closer, heart pounding. "Explain." The tech swallowed. "There are recorded myths of early humans, warrior variants bred during the old galactic wars. They were dangerous. Their physiology interacted with alien biology in unpredictable ways." He hesitated before continuing. "Legends say they could override the instincts and strength of other species, even Giantess physiology." Rian blinked, looking between them. "Override meaning what?" Kaara didn't answer. She already felt the truth pulsing inside her like a second heartbeat. Her trembling legs, the strange warmth in her chest, the whispers of ancestors questioning her loyalty. None of it was illness. It was the beginning of a bond, a sacred one, ancient, irreversible. Her mother had once spoken of it in hushed tones during rare moments of softness. A bond formed through instinct, fate, and contact. A bond only triggered by one species in the galaxy's forgotten past. Humans. Kaara stared at Rian, feeling the realization settle deep inside her bones. "You aren't supposed to be alive," she murmured. "Yet somehow you are." The chamber lights flickered red. "Warning. Enemy vessels approaching. Distance closing. Surrender request detected." The tech flinched. "They know. They must have intercepted the scan." Kaara stepped in front of Rian instinctively, her body moving before her mind could catch up. "You are not giving him to them." "But if we don't," the tech said, voice shaking, "they'll destroy the ship." Rian placed a hand on Kaara's arm. "You can't risk your whole crew for me." She turned sharply. "I am not risking them. I am protecting you." Her voice cracked on the last word, surprising even her. The ancient stories echoed in her mind, humans touching Giantess skin, triggering internal changes no war training could undo. Bonds stronger than vows, more dangerous than love. Rian looked stunned. "Kaara, I'm not worth." "You are," she snapped. "Whether I like it or not, something is happening to me because of you. Something sacred. Something no one has seen for centuries." He stared at her with a mixture of fear and something softer. "Then we figure this out. But I can't let them kill you." A ship-wide announcement interrupted him. 10 minutes until enemy arrival. Surrender protocol initializing. Kaara cursed under her breath and dragged him toward the armory. Rian stumbled to keep up. "What's the plan?" "Hide you somewhere their scanners can't reach," she said. "There are shielded compartments in the lower decks, old smuggler routes. They'll give you time." "Time to do what?" "To survive," she answered quietly. But the words tasted bitter. She didn't want him to survive alone. As they ran down the corridor, lights flickering overhead, Kaara felt the whispers start again, drifting like smoke through her thoughts. "The bond cannot be broken, Kaara, unless one dies." She pressed a hand to her temple, ignoring the voices. Rian saw the pain flicker across her face. "They're back, aren't they?" The whispers. "Keep moving," she muttered. They reached the lower decks. Pipes steamed from pressure. Metal groaned beneath their feet. Kaara stopped outside a sealed maintenance hatch. "This compartment is lined with alloy foil," she said. "It blocks genetic scans. They won't find you." Rian shook his head. "I'm not leaving you to face them alone. You must." She pushed the hatch open. "If they take you, they control the bond. They control me." His eyes widened. "What does that mean?" She swallowed hard. "It means they could use you to break me, to command me, to turn me into a weapon." Silence settled thickly between them. Rian stepped closer, lifting his hand toward her face. She didn't move as his fingers brushed her cheek. The contact sent a tremor through her entire body, stronger than ever. Even her ancestors went silent at his touch. "Kaara," he whispered. "Whatever I am, whatever this is, I don't want it to hurt you." "It already is," she said softly. "But not in the way you think." They stood like that for a moment, two impossibilities bound by something older than memory, older than war. Then she pulled away. Hurry. Get inside. Rian hesitated. Promise me you won't surrender. I promise, she said. But as he stepped into the compartment, the ship's alarms shrieked, louder and more urgent. 5 minutes until enemy arrival. Unauthorized access detected on lower deck. Kaara's head snapped toward the sound. Unauthorized access? She turned back to Rian. He was gone. The compartment was empty. The hatch slid shut on its own with a metallic clang. Rian? She shouted, slamming her hand against the metal. Rian! No answer. No voice. No breathing. No presence. He had vanished, completely impossibly, without leaving a trace. And above them, the enemy ships locked onto the battleship. Kaara's blood ran cold. Someone had taken him. The alarms never even registered in Kaara's ears. All she heard was her own heartbeat. Too fast, too loud, too empty. Rian's scent still lingered in the hallway, a faint warmth in the cold metal air, and every part of her body reacted like she had been struck by a plasma bolt. He was gone. Someone had taken him. And the moment the realization hit, her legs buckled. Not from weakness this time, but from rage so sharp it felt like a blade pressed against her bones. She forced herself forward, gripping the wall as her vision blurred with memories she couldn't control. Rian laughing softly beside her. Rian looking surprised when she almost collapsed in front of him. Rian reaching out instinctively, catching her by the wrist, and the way her entire nervous system had lit up like a storm flickering beneath her skin. The bond, the curse, the gift, whatever it truly was, she couldn't lose him. Not now, not ever. She sprinted down the corridor with a speed she hadn't felt since training as a youngling. The weakness was gone. Her muscles felt alive. And the truth hit her with another shock. She wasn't getting weaker because of Rian. She was getting stronger because of him. Every time she thought of him, every time she remembered the warmth of his hand, her strength surged again as if his memory was fuel. She checked the quarters, the labs, the holding cells. Nothing. No Rian. No trace. Just silence that swallowed her whole. Then a memory she hadn't visited in decades clawed up her spine. A flashback. Her training pit as a child, her mentor towering over her with a spear in hand. Strength without purpose is chaos. Strength without a bond is empty. And strength without protection is meaningless. She had thought those were metaphors, ancient lessons. But now, standing alone in the cold corridors of a ship, ready to betray her, she felt the weight of those words like a pulse inside her ribs. A flash of light flickered at the far end of the hall, emergency power rerouting. It was the perfect cover for a kidnapping. Kaara stormed through the corridor hatch and into the heart of the ship, the council chambers. The moment she crossed the threshold, her body went still. Her mind snapped into clarity. She could smell him. He was here, but she was too late. Rian was strapped to a gravity chair, wrists bound, head tilted back as he fought to stay conscious. Around him stood the ship's political council. Tall, rigid, cowards hiding behind law and protocol. Their eyes flicked to her with a mixture of guilt and cold determination. Stand down, Lieutenant Kaara, Counselor Vree commanded. The human will be handed over to the enemy fleet. This is the only way to secure the safety of our vessel. She stepped forward, every muscle trembling with barely controlled violence. You took him, she growled. You drugged him. You hid him from me. He is a threat, another counselor snapped. Ancient humans destabilized entire empires. You've already shown signs of bond interference. We cannot risk a warrior of your rank being compromised. Compromised? Her laugh came out hollow. You fools don't understand anything. Rian's eyes fluttered open at the sound of her voice, and even half-conscious, he tried to reach toward her. The restraint systems groaned under the effort. Kaara felt another surge of strength, wild and instinctive, her body responding to his need for her. She grabbed the nearest counselor by the throat and slammed him into the wall so hard the metal dented. You think, she hissed, that I will let you give him away? That I will let them take him? Alarms blared overhead. The counselors stiffened. A shadow fell across the chamber's glass ceiling. The enemy ships had arrived. The entire fleet. Massive silhouettes darkened the stars as the comm system crackled to life. A deep, resonant voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. "Deliver the human to us." Immediately, Counselor Vree tried to push her aside and answer the transmission, but Kaara's hand shot out and held him in place with impossible strength. Rian's eyes widened. He could see it, her power rising, responding to him, to the threat, to the bond forming in ways neither of them understood. The ceiling shook as docking hooks latched onto their hull. The council chamber doors slammed open. Enemy soldiers poured in. And at the front of them was a figure taller than any of the others, armored in obsidian plating, eyes burning with an unnatural glow. The enemy commander stepped forward, gaze locking straight onto Rian before drifting slowly, knowingly to Kaara. Her heart dropped. Something in that stare recognized her bond. Understood it. Wanted it. The commander smiled. A slow, terrifying smile. "You think you control him?" he said, his voice echoing like thunder in the chamber. He extended a clawed hand toward Rian, as if claiming property. "He belongs to us." The enemy commander's words hit Kaara like a shockwave, but she didn't get the chance to respond. The ship lurched violently as enemy boarding claws tore deeper into the hull, metal screaming under the pressure. Sparks rained from the ceiling, alarms wailed in every direction, and in the same instant, Kaara felt something else, Rian's fear. Not paralyzing fear, but the kind that sharpened instincts and forced a person to move. Her body reacted before her mind caught up. She launched forward, slamming into the enemy soldiers with a force so brutal the deck beneath her cracked. The council scattered, diving for cover as the battle erupted in a storm of plasma fire and shattering armor. Kaara tore through the attackers like a collapsing star, moving faster than she'd ever experienced, faster than her training even allowed. Rian tried to free himself from the restraints, but his voice cut through the chaos. "Kaara, behind you!" She didn't question it. She twisted, grabbed an attacker's blade mid-swing, and drove it back into the alien's chest. Her movements were too precise, too effortless. She realized she wasn't fighting alone. She was fighting with him. Somehow, she was sensing what he sensed, responding to threats he saw before she did. The bond was active. She rushed to him, ripping the restraint unit apart with her bare hands. The metal snapped like brittle wood. Rian collapsed into her arms, breath trembling. But the moment their skin touched, a surge of energy blasted through both of them. A physical spark, a spiritual jolt, a pulse that crackled in the air like electric fire. The corridor exploded outward, not from a bomb. From them, panels ripped from the walls, scattering soldiers like dust in a windstorm. Kaara staggered, shocked by her own strength. Rian stared at his hands, stunned. What was that?" he whispered. Before she could answer, the enemy commander stepped through the smoke, his armor glowing ominously, untouched by the chaos. "That," he said with a dark satisfaction, "is what your kind was created for." Kaara growled, pulling Rian behind her as enemy soldiers regrouped. "Explain." The commander tilted his head. "You don't truly think your species evolved naturally, do you? Giantesses were engineered, built as living weapons in the oldest war this galaxy remembers." Kaara froze. She had heard myths of ancient conflicts older than her civilization. Wars fought with creatures of impossible might. Legends of pair-bonded warriors whose hearts beat as one. The commander continued, tracing a claw across his armor. But giantesses were useless alone. Their power was dormant unless awakened by one specific catalyst. His eyes locked onto Rian. A human. Rian swallowed, confused and angry. Humans were hunted to extinction. "Why?" "Because your species held the key to soul links," the commander said quietly. "A rare bond where two beings merge instincts, strength, and life force. Together you were unstoppable. And together, you nearly destroyed us." Kaara's pulse hammered in her throat. She could feel Rian's heartbeat syncing with hers. She didn't know how, but she knew. The commander lifted a hand. His army halted. You two are not an accident, not a malfunction, not a forbidden pairing. He pointed at them, voice booming with ancient fear. You are the first awakening of a war-forged bond that was never meant to return. Kaara tightened her grip around Rian, feeling power rising through her muscles again. She didn't fully understand the bond, but she understood one thing. She wasn't giving him up. Rian stepped beside her, pulse steady, eyes burning with defiance. You want us? He said. Come get us. The commander smiled as the deck beneath them split open and hundreds of soldiers surged in. Kaara lifted Rian's hand. Another pulse ignited, and the battle for the truth of their bond began. The ship buckled under the strain of the battle above, metal bending and splitting as if the universe were holding its breath. Kaara felt the tremors through her bones, but something inside her had shifted. Her weakness was gone. In its place was a rising warmth, steady, fierce, and ready to burn the galaxy open if it threatened Rian again. Enemy soldiers closed in, forming a wall of armored bodies and raised plasma blades. Kaara stepped in front of Rian, but he touched her arm lightly, and that familiar surge blossomed between them again. It wasn't chaotic this time. It wasn't uncontrollable. It flowed through them like a second heartbeat, pulsing in perfect harmony. The corridor exploded outward in a shockwave of golden light. Soldiers slammed into walls. Metal screamed. The floor cracked under Kaara's feet, sending ripples of energy racing down the hall. She didn't fall. She didn't tremble. She stood tall, finally understanding what she was meant to be. Rian staggered but steadied himself with a deep breath. Kaara, he whispered. She lifted him into her arms without hesitation, cradling him as if the universe itself had appointed him the center of her existence. The energy between them ignited again, brighter this time, swirling around them in spirals that shimmered with ancient power. Above them, the enemy fleet closed in. Thousands of engines roared to life, preparing bombardments that would turn the ship into dust. Kaara's pulse synced with Rian's. 1 beat, 2, 3. Then the battlefield changed. A wave of golden energy burst from their bodies and shot through the ship, out into space, spreading like a solar flare made of pure intent. It struck the nearest enemy vessel first. The engines flickered, then died. Another ship followed, then another, and another. Within seconds, the entire enemy fleet went dark. Silence swallowed the galaxy. Kaara floated there, weightless for a moment, holding Rian close as the light cascaded around them. She had never felt so steady, so grounded, so alive. The bond had unlocked something older than any myth her people whispered about. Something designed, forged, and buried by civilizations too terrified to let it rise again. Her commander's voice crackled through the comm lines, disbelieving. Kaara, what did you do? She looked down at Rian, brushing his cheek gently with her thumb. His eyes shone with warmth so deep it made her chest tighten. That night didn't break you, he murmured, voice soft but certain. It woke you up. Those words settled into her heart like a promise. She wasn't a weapon. She wasn't a mistake. She was the other half of a force that history had tried to erase. The surviving enemy ships retreated in panic, fleeing the silent graveyard of their own fleet. Kaara held Rian in her arms as they drifted in the soft glow of the energy still lingering around them. She could feel her ancestors' presence again, not accusing this time, but proud, waiting, watching, and somewhere light years away, deep inside a forgotten tomb of stone and starlight, another pair of eyes snapped open. A colossal alien giantess, ancient, scarred, and long asleep, rose from her chamber. Dust drifted from her armor as she lifted her head, sensing the pulse that had awakened across the galaxy. Her voice echoed through the dark like a prophecy returning from the dead. Where is my human?